Hello. It says I'm live. So I guess I'm live. Oh hell. I did not take my aligners out of my mouth. So I guess y'all are just gonna get the aligners this whole time. Boop. Let's see. I'm not used to FaceTime live, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on here and wait till a few people join. I did post on Instagram that I was going to be moving the live over to Facebook. Whoops. Because my phone screen is still broken. Jasper was supposed to fix it for me because, you know, he's responsible for fixing everything around here. But things have been so hectic and crazy at the lab that he really didn't have the opportunity to do it. So I can't be mad at him. You know, he's over there trying to help folk. I'm trying to help him help folk, you know. But we got to keep these DARPA grants, right? You know, got to keep the FDA happy. So I am going to turn on a bit of light. I feel like it's kind of dark. Is it dark or is it just me? That might be too much. No, I guess it's okay. Part of me wonders, oh, it looks like somebody's watching now. I can't, I don't like this. Because on Instagram, it tells you when people pop in. I sound like such a middle-aged person talking about my preferred way of doing things and not liking having to change my preferred methods. Yeah. So, hello to whomever is here. I'm just going to kind of mull over a couple of things before I get into what the real topic of this particular Twirl Talk is going to be about. Thank you for coming, or thank you for, I can't even talk today. Thank you for attending my Twirl Talk. Today is going to be a lot, but before I get into that, I do have a couple of shows coming up. I am doing BTown Pride, Bloomington Pride. Oh, hey, Theodora. I'm doing Bloomington Pride this weekend here in Bloomington, Indiana. There are two shows. I mean, there's events happening all day, but there are two drag shows that I'm in. And one of them is at 6:30, and then the second show, the finale, is at 10:30 p.m. Oh, that's fine, Taryn. How are you? I'm happy to see you. I love you. And then the next weekend after that, I have Boy Barella up in Indianapolis, who I love Boy B, is producing a show called Crying at the Disco. And that will be on September 3rd at 8 p.m. at the White Rabbit Cabaret. Also, just a couple of words about the BTown Pride show. Like, I want to hype this up because I think it's such a fantastic show. If you are around in BTown. So we have some incredible performers. Host is Pat Weave. If you don't know Pat, you need to know Pat. And DJ Mad Dog is doing the music, and I love Mad Dog. Oriana Perone, Peter Von Teezer, these aligners, Peter Von Teezer, Arachna, Kalinda, Primary, the Kiara Kardashian, April Rose, myself, Irregular Girl, Tenderoni, and Lucy Stool. That's the first show. The second show, you have Peter Von Teezer, myself, Arachna, Pat Weave is hosting, but I also think Pat is performing in this particular show. I have my fingers crossed because I really want to see that. Kiara Kardashian, Kalinda, April Rose, Mocha Debutee, the Beyonce of Bloomington, bitch. Get it together and get to this show if you're around. Irregular Girl, Lucy Stool, and Tenderoni. So, drag kings, drag queens, and a stripper. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to being a part of all of this amazing, prideful queerness here in the middle of Bloomington. I was saying to my husband, because it's an outdoor, like, open event, I was like, I hope some of these students don't see me half naked running around on stage at Pride. And Doc was like, I hope they do. So, I mean, I love Jasper. He don't care. So, which he probably shouldn't, but okay. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. All right. So, how do I want to start this? So, I know that in the last few weeks, I've talked to you all about feeling like my entire operating system has kind of shut down on me, and I'm in kind of a strange place with how I view the world, how I see, like how I feel in the world, and how I interpret the world, and my feelings and everything that's happening surrounding me. And in that process, I've also been doing a lot of shadow work, right? And shadow work is a real powerful thing because, you know, at times it feels so heavy, and then, like, I don't know, the light feels so far away, and then you wonder if the darkness is permanent. And, you know, then there's like this realization that happens the deeper that you go into the darkness, that there's more light for you to reflect, and there's more light for you to absorb the deeper you go into it. And I made a post about it. Like, I feel like both sides of me have warmth because they are all me. You know, we all have kind of like our internal community of folks, the people that we are in different times in our lives, and the people that we create within ourselves that help us cope with certain things that have happened to us. And I feel like part of shadow work is kind of coming face to face with all of those things. So I'm at a crossroads where I'm really making a lot of powerful parallels and realizations with past trauma and past versions of myself that I was not really able to make in the past, because whenever I would have these moments where I was getting a look at this stuff, I would have like a profound kind of breakdown. Like, I have been, content warning, I'm going to talk about childhood trauma, sexual assault, suicidal ideation, eating disorders, PTSD, depression, anxiety. So if that's disturbing to you, then don't listen. So, yeah, so in the past, when I have kind of gotten a glimpse at this coming together of all of the trauma that I experienced along those same lines, it would come to a place where I would get severely depressed. My symptoms of PTSD would come back, general anxiety, suicidal ideation. I was hospitalized a couple of times for attempts and things of that nature. So it was always very violent whenever this parallel being able to kind of see all of the versions of self and how those versions of self aligned to keep me alive, basically. And how to integrate the traumatic or the traumatized parts of me into the part of me that exists today. And it was like they were all kind of fighting with each other. And I couldn't deal with the internal battle that was happening. And so I would just have a massive breakdown. But this time I don't feel out of control in any way. I feel very even. I feel like I can see myself in all of my different iterations, and I'm not disturbed by that. I'm very observant about what's happening with me in a really positive way. And yeah, that's a good thing, I guess. But again, like, I feel like the more I kind of descend into this idea of shadow, the deeper into the darkness, the more light I can absorb and reflect. And there are these moments where it bursts like out of every pore and between every atom. And in an instance, I can see like all of it in a really, really profound moment of clarity. So in that moment of clarity, I realized some things about myself that I really just kind of want to lay bare, because they've been really bothering me. And I tried to like tell myself that this shit didn't bother me, that I didn't care. And I do care. But I don't want to be a victim to caring. And I don't want to be walking around pretending not to care, being the bigger person, being strong, not giving others the satisfaction of admitting I care. It's all bullshit, right? Because if being the better person feels like crap, then are you being the bigger person, or are you just allowing yourself to feel like crap? Because you're allowing yourself, your light, to be dimmed by someone else's shadow, right? And that's not cool. And not when people honestly don't care, like, what is not the lack of caring about other things and other people? Like, that's like veering towards sociopathy, right? There's a way of saying that you're unaffected by something, but I can't be unaffected by these things. So I want to care, but I want to care with wisdom. And I want to care with clarity. And the reason why I care about these particular issues I'm going to discuss tonight so much is because so much of my burlesque is an expression of the most tender parts of me that have been sullied by childhood trauma. Being on stage, audaciously dancing my heart out in the most sparkly outfit, the biggest hair, the highest heels I can dance in without breaking my ankle, while taking off my clothes, is more on brand for like Little Crystal than any of you know. I was an absolute nudist when I was a child. My mother would dress me and tell me to go outside and play on the swing set so she could get my sister together. And I would immediately go outside and take off all my clothes and get on the swings and just be outside, naked or with my panties on the swing set, like living my best life. So, and again, I was always a performer. I went to dance class my first dance class, I believe I was like 2.5, 3 years old. And all the other kids cried when their parents left. I cried when the class was over and my mom came to get me. right? So glitter, sparkle, dancing, performing, and being naked are like completely on brand for the child that I lost way too soon when I lost my mom. So being accused of doing something that I didn't do, or being something that I'm not, is also contributes to like triggers from my trauma response. And I understand these are my triggers, and that's why I'm stating this, because these are the things that I am working on. These are my triggers and I need to work on them. Also, not being believed when I tell someone that something has happened to me. Because a lot of the issues surrounding my childhood trauma revolving around sexual assault revolve around people lying on me and not believing me when I told them things, and being accused of being, a fast-ass little girl, and all these kinds of things. So my integrity and my reputation are so fiercely defended because they were so severely stripped from me, not just but repetitively, like throughout my lifetime. I'm just talking about origin, the root of where all this comes from. So, and this isn't the only place where I'm choosing to kind of speak a truth that I've silenced within myself. Like, there are several places in my life. This is not just about burlesque. I just, it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's a purge, a confession of sorts, if you will. Okay. I've kept my mouth shut about certain things because I've been groomed since I was a kid, and even through my young adulthood, and I think a lot of femmes of color know this. You've been groomed from childhood to bury, sacrifice, and extinguish your light, your pain, and your feelings, because society, you don't deserve to have them. And, family's eyes, society's eyes, whatever. The idea that you deserve to be cared for or protected is just not, it's not an automatic for us. And I think I was also trying to maintain a facade for the powers that be that were bigger than me. But that's all a facade, because they're not bigger. They're maintained by me and others, but they're not bigger. And when the power goes sour, somebody has to be brave enough to call bullshit on the quote unquote community. I've been an activist most of my life. So much so that my dad used to call me Angela Davis Jr. when I was younger, much to I was so annoyed with that, but whatever. I've never done it for any kind of recognition or clout or any kind of performative reason. I did it because I felt it was what was necessary at the time, and it was necessary for liberation. Protecting especially other Black femmes has always been something that that I prided myself, even folks that I don't necessarily quote unquote care for or like, because none of us are free until all of us are free. And a lot of the issues that are brought up that I don't care for that happen with these other Black femmes are products of the environment that we come from. But I feel that there are folks that we have lionized as pillars in burlesque that have actively tried to erase and silence and tear down other folks, and not because they're problematic for any serious reason, right, that needs to be called out, but because they don't like them, or they feel like this person is getting more shine than they are, or whatever they quantify it, jealousy, envy, just general dislike. And I feel like there are some folks that they've decided that they have the ability to kind of judge other marginalized folks and their worthiness as performers because of how they've decided to quantify or define their identity, intersections, and levels of subjugation. Like, I don't see this as the oppression Olympics. And I'm not saying that privilege isn't a thing, because it absolutely is. But I think we need to recognize the fact, like the difference between someone being privileged on the outside of, in the mainstream. That privilege only exists because of the initial disease of white supremacy. It's not something to dislike someone for, especially if that individual is not a Huxtable Black or a respectable Black, where they thrive off of having said privilege. And they use that privilege to then actively subjugate others. Those people exist. I call them out all the time. Y'all know I don't like the respectable Blacks at all. But I think it's important to say that we're not a monolith, and we're all things and no things and everything in between. And we all have blind spots in our activism because we all have internalized white supremacy to dismantle. And when I say that, I say, like, I used to avoid working with like super Christian, like churchy activists and activists that I felt were misogynists, like traditional male values, or this idea of toxic masculinity, and that there's some assigned roles within. They really believe in this whole idea of this socialized American or Western idea of gender roles. And they think that women are less than, or femmes. Like, we're not even going to get into queer people, because again, with the church folks, they don't even want them around regardless. Even though, like, every movement for social change has been on the bedrock of queer folk of color. But moving on, anyway, yeah. But I used to always avoid them. Their ideas of selective Black liberation drove me insane, and I instantly started hating on them and trying to, like, get rid of them in some organizations that I was working on. And one day, an older activist that I really respected and was kind of a mentor to me pulled me aside, and she said, "You're not wrong, and I agree with you, but they are not the enemy. They're sleeping with the enemy, but they're not the enemy. The original indoctrinator is the enemy, which is white supremacy. So, you keep them at arm's length because they don't deserve to be any closer to you. But reserve all of that fire and that vitriol to punching up at the real enemy. It's harder to do that sometimes, because sometimes it's easier to see the enemy that's closer to you, quote unquote. But it's how you get everybody free, because those folks are going to continue being a roadblock until more people who are like-minded like me get access to be able to have the freedom, to have the voice to speak out. And so therefore you just have to keep being about your work and not allowing these other folks to derail you. So folks' attachments to the lies that internalize white supremacy and perceived lack and damaged egos, like, all these things make them a threat to the very thing that they claim to champion in some cases, right? And like, we don't all have to braid each other's hair, but we also don't have to be out here slandering, erasing, and trying to, like, sun each other all the time. If we're going to do a thing and claim it's a corrective for the obstructions placed in our paths by the mainstream because of our collective intersectional identities, then we can't also center our egos and personal preferences within that, because then it becomes the same as what else is going on, and it becomes really toxic. And no matter how much you try to conceal it from the outside, eventually some folks are going to start to become privy to it and fall off. And just like I don't really take that crap silently, because even though I may have stopped trying to actively get these people up out of my organization. I was never quiet about disagreeing with them. I was never quiet about telling them all of the ways in which I thought that they were wrong, and all of the ways in which the supposed liberation that they're talking about has to be for everyone, or it's for none of us. You can't just replace the power dynamic that's happening now with you. And that's what you're talking about doing. If you're leaving any one of us out, then you just want the same status quo. You just want to be the one that's in charge of the status quo. So I never stopped running my mouth, okay? So I probably shouldn't do that here. Because I think it's okay for me to be just as passionate about my own liberation as I am about others at this point in my life. So I'm prefacing this by saying that I'm not innocent. Like I always say, I never said I wasn't trash. But despite all of my bravado and claims of being a burn it down bitch, I have mostly been complicit and a coward. I have allowed my fear of what will be said, or how other people will react, or how people would perceive me if I ever said anything about any of this stuff, that I would be a shit starter, even when like I'm actively being harmed. And like why would anybody who's like amazing and powerful give a fuck about little old insignificant me? But if I could say that it was over, then it would be over, because all I really wanted was to kind of be left to my own devices and to be left alone. And that was kind of my purpose for like not ever saying anything. But I feel at this point, especially with some recent things that have happened, like it's still having a lingering effect. And that lingering effect, I think, has something to do with the fact that I never spoke my piece. And I don't feel like I deserve that. And if folks don't want to like me, then I want them to not like me because of something that I said or I did, not because of something that someone else claimed. So whatever I'm about to say, you can believe me, you cannot believe me. That's okay. I'm not here to cancel anybody. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I'm not here to, do anything except just bear my truth. That's all I want to do. And y'all can make your decisions based off whatever you think about what I say. So I started burlesque in 2017, and when I started, it was 2016 when I started burlesque. I had my solo debut in 2017. And right after my solo debut, I had inquired about kittening and auditioning to be in a group number for a show that Egypt Black Nile was producing. And I got in to do the group number. I was asked to bring the solo that I had just created, and I felt really unprepared to be on that stage with the folks that were going to be performing that evening. There were some really incredible performers that were going to be there, and I just did not feel like me, not even 6 months past my first solo, was prepared to be on a stage with professionals that have been doing this for years. But I did it, It felt weird. I got some good feedback though. And from that, a relationship between Egypt and I was formed, and I became her mentee. And I had some hesitations about it in the beginning because I didn't think I was ready to be mentored by someone of that stature. But, I kind of put my insecurities aside, and I kept going. I was crowned Bronze Beauties of Burlesque, which also felt weird because I just kind of felt like, and I said this too, I was like, is this something that someone like me should have? It feels like this is like an honorary thing and not something that a new performer should have. Like somebody who's been doing this longer. I'm sure that other performers that have been around and who actually like deserve or can better represent this brand. And he insisted she knew what she was doing, and I was really nervous. It was a bittersweet thing for me because while I feel like I was honored to be put in a place where I could represent for that brand and for something that was so important to Egypt, it still felt really weird because there were snide remarks that were made. I was mini Egypt and I was only getting to do certain things because I was her mentee and all these different things. Like, screw my talent, screw my training. I'm only here because blah, blah, blah. But, people are going to talk shit regardless. Like, no matter how you come into the game, there's going to be some shit talk if you're new. I think it's just a new person thing. You're going to get hazed. But I pushed through that. Everything seemed good. There were some red flags, but whatever. Like, me being who I was, never thinking that I was good enough, being totally insecure, thought that there was no way that I could in any way have any reason to walk away from this, because if I did, then what else would I be doing with myself, right? And I worked really hard. I rehearsed a lot. I created a bunch of new pieces. I did a lot of new choreography. I worked on a lot of things. I pride myself in working on things by myself because I stated this from the very, very beginning. I never wanted to be a replica of anybody else. I just wanted to be my best me. So for me, what I was looking for was somebody to help me cultivate my own voice. But I wasn't interested in my voice changing into anything else. I just was interested in my voice evolving. And so that was always my intent. I don't know if I was always heard in that or if that was always respected, but I'm going to assume that it was for the most part because I like giving the benefit of the doubt. Fast forward, the House of Nile gets formed. It was awesome. When I first started my mentorship, I had to do a lot of homework, a lot of research on legends, and I had to write papers and all this stuff. And so when the House of Nile first started, I did everything I could to support Egypt and to support the rest of the girls in the house and promote the house and be on brand, always be putting my best foot forward and doing what was expected of me. And I always really, really tried to do that. And I tried to be as loyal as possible. And things were great for a while, and I was having a great time, and I was loving being a part of a sisterhood where we would all talk about costuming stuff and choreography stuff and things that we were working on, and it felt really, really good to have this group of awesome folks that, I felt super close to. And, there were sisters fight sometimes. I always considered everybody sisters, and I'm not saying it was always hunky-dory. I'm not saying that no one ever got on my nerves, because they did. But yeah, everything just was great for a time. And then things started to shift. And for me, I kind of started noticing the shifts like late 2018, probably early 2019. And it just started to feel different. There were some discussions that were had that I felt like I could not just not say something about. And I started to kind of openly disagree with certain things. And I don't think that was appreciated. I think that was something that was, it felt like I was, quote unquote, stepping out of place by disagreeing with certain things. Or speaking out about certain things that I didn't think were right, whether it was privately or within our group chats. And again, I want to say right now that I am not perfect, and that I was complicit in a whole bunch of shit. I kikied, I talked shit. I probably said some shit to people, around people, in front of people that they didn't take kindly to. But it just got to the point that I couldn't kind of like be okay with certain conversations that were being had. Now, I'm not going to talk about anything that I witnessed that did not directly happen to me, or like as a one-on-one thing that happened with me, because like I said, like throwing other people under the bus is not what this is about. And conversations that were had in private still should be and remain private. So like, I'm not the one that's gonna be like throwing up a whole bunch of screenshots about shit. You can believe what I'm saying, or you cannot. You can dislike me for saying what I'm saying. That's fine too. But like, I feel like, again, speaking of conversations, there have been some conversations that I have become privy to recently that just really disturbed me, because like I said, I have really kept my mouth shut about a lot of this. And to hear and to know that I'm still being spoken about negatively, just really, it really bothers me. And I think it really had an effect on the one thing that really kind of made me feel like I needed to do this. And I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. So it was around the time of GLCC that I think I had a conversation with someone who that I really, really respect, who advised me that I should probably start thinking about how I want to proceed with my burlesque career, because staying where I was probably not going to be the best thing for me. And they wouldn't exactly tell me why, but I know this person doesn't have a reason to do that. Like they were trying to look out for me, is what I'm trying to say. And I thought about that, and then the next weekend I went to What the Funk. And that whole weekend was really bittersweet for me, because there had been some conversations that had happened before that I felt had gotten tense, surrounding like issues of trans folks and body shaming and just all kinds of stuff, just like acting out about different things. And I felt uncomfortable. And when I won that weekend, I found myself standing on that stage thinking that I didn't deserve it, and that I wondered whether or not I had won because of what everyone else always said, because I was a product of the House of Nile, and not because I was, talented enough to to be the winner. And I really started questioning myself and my own worth. And I started feeling really bad about myself. And I started feeling really bad about my place within a situation that I was really kind of starting to have some problems with as far as my integrity is concerned. So I had decided at that point that it was probably time for me to start thinking about what I needed to do to get myself out without causing a whole bunch of waves. Because the person that I spoke to was like, get yourself out, but don't break all the china on the way out the door. So how can I do this quietly? How can I do this respectfully? How can I do this without causing a bunch of shit? Because like I said, it wasn't for nothing. It's not like there weren't positive experiences to be had. It's not like that there weren't lessons learned. It's just that there was a lot going on that I just couldn't ignore anymore. And it was starting to affect me as a person. And I was starting to fight with Egypt a lot over stuff. And it just felt like there was this, it just started to feel like there was a lot of tension between the two of us surrounding issues that I, as an activist, have always been very passionate about defending. Problematic festivals, issues of colorism, issues of body shaming, issues surrounding trans people. It just was starting to get to be a little bit too much for me. And also just the way I was being treated, because I wasn't agreeing with anything anymore, it just started to feel like I was becoming an enemy of the state in a sense. So, there were a few other things, a few other festivals that I knew I was going to be at and that everybody was going to be there. Savannah was the last one where I just felt so uncomfortable. And I felt like the tension was just so thick between us that you could cut it with a knife. And it was I was really sad about it because I felt like I wish I could talk to you about this without it devolving into an argument, right? But every time we talked, it just seemed to turn into an argument. And I was just tired of fighting. As much as I loved everyone and as much as I wanted everyone to thrive and be good, I just felt like my presence was becoming a huge disturbance. And so after Savannah, I had decided to make my way out. Now, and I informed everyone that I was leaving. There was no big hoopla. I never made any public announcement that I had left the house. I just went on about my business. And, I had a bunch of fucking breakdowns about it. I was super sad about it. There was a lot of shit and screenshots going back and forth. Like I was being accused of being disloyal, of stealing choreography, stealing costumes, or stealing ideas for costumes. I was being called an opportunist and all this kind of stuff. Now, again, as much as I was given within that time that I was there, I also gave a lot of myself, right? I really did invest very heavily into that whole thing. And I'm always loyal to the people that I'm around, but I also have to be fucking loyal to myself. And that was the battle because I felt like my integrity was being chipped away at. Like it just didn't feel good anymore. And no one deserves that. And here's the thing. If someone is a part of a thing and they decide to leave that thing and they leave that thing and there is no blow up, then just let people go sometimes, right? But up until this year, stuff about me removing Egypt from my bio, which happened a long time ago. And the reason I did that was because I didn't want to be accused of riding her coattails, right? Because that was something else that was brought up as well. So if I was going to stand alone as my own performer, then okay, I'm going to do that, right? So I didn't remove that I was the Bronze Beauty Queen because that was a title thing. So I didn't take that out right away. I did take it out eventually, but it was like, it's not about disrespect. It's not about dislike. It's not about being disloyal. It's about understanding what your principles are and understanding who you are as a person and being able to stand on that without having to deal with other people messing with you afterwards because you don't agree with them. Because that's basically what it was. And for me, being a new performer who no one knows outside of being involved in that, I didn't have a reputation for myself outside of that. Like, it felt like some of the comments that were being made to me backstage in certain places, some of the things that were, like, it felt like I was being looked upon as someone who was bad. And again, like I said, my reputation is something that I really cling to for a bunch of different reasons. And I couldn't understand why it upset me so much for so long, but it really did. It hurt. And again, that's my shit that I have to deal with. Like, I'm not sitting here saying Egypt hurt me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I was hurt by what took place between the two of us and what took place afterwards. Because it felt ugly. And it just didn't feel good. And I just wanted to go hide in a hole and be left alone. And I almost stopped doing burlesque. And if it wasn't for the damn panini, I probably would have. But having that break to reset and to remember why I started doing this in the first place, which was, again, for that sparkly little girl inside of me that I lost a very long time ago, to have some freedom and to have some healing. Not that this is therapeutic, like burlesque is not therapy. I have a therapist, but there is something about being able to express myself in the way that I do in burlesque that gives that inner child a moment of healing. That gives the part of me, of my sexuality that was stolen from me as someone who went through being sexually assaulted multiple times, like to reclaim that part of myself. There's something about that that's wonderful, right? So I needed to remember why I started doing this. And I really started to get back in touch with that. I started creating new pieces that felt really genuine to me. And all of the stuff that I had created before felt really genuine to me as well. But I was tapping into a deeper understanding of who I was as a burlesque performer. Because it's different than being, a modern dancer. It's so much different. And I felt like I was really I was starting to find myself. Now, I referenced What the Funk and I referenced the Savannah Festival because I felt like I didn't go to this year's What the Funk because I felt like I don't know, I kind of felt like folks didn't want me there. And the reason why I say that is I'm sitting here during the panini and I'm watching, the social meets as we do. And I'm seeing all this stuff coming up about What the Funk. And, virtual queer prom happened. All these things are happening. No one says anything to me about any of it, right? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe people don't, maybe because I'm not like super loud about my particular brand of queerness, that maybe that's why, it wasn't something that was seen as necessary for queer prom. Whatever. Okay, that's fine. But then, I kind of let that go, even though I felt sad because I at least would have liked to have known more about it as the planning was happening so that I could promote it or whatever. But it just felt like I was like, okay, this is happening and no one said anything to me about it. Great. Then I started seeing all of the announcements for all of the features and all of the headliners and all of the stuff that was going on around the festival. And I hadn't received an email for a save the date. Nothing. And so I'm like, damn. And then like part of me, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be real honest. The brat in me was like, I should not have to ask whether or not I'm going to be asked to be a part of this. Because if I am the Grand Master of Funk, I should not have to beg to be a part of the thing with the Grand Master. Because where the new one is coming, I shouldn't have to ask I shouldn't have to beg to be a part of that, right? So I'm watching all this go down, and then I got a serious attitude. I'm not gonna fucking lie. I got a serious attitude when I got an email a couple of months back asking me to do an interview for the festival. The interview request came from an assistant. There was no like details. Like, what is this for? How is it being done? What's the format? How is it being used? Like, when does it need to be done? Like, just Pucks wants to do an interview with you. And I'm like, so I fired off an email to Pucks because I was annoyed. Like, what is this, right? And then I get a response back with what the interview was for. And then kind of a sidebar like, oh, it looks like the festival is going to happen because of the COVID vaccine or whatever, the cases are going down, blah, blah, blah. Now, in the back of my mind, that's when I got pissed because I was like, the festival is going to, you've been announcing and talking about the festival for months. Like, what are you trying to do with this, right? So then I was like, am I crazy? Like, am I fucking crazy? Like, has the panini infected me in some way that's not COVID, but has made me insane? Like, has being in this house and looking at these cats and this dog and my husband, has it really driven me insane? And then I was like, no, I don't think that's it. So me being an asshole in the moment, I kind of blew off doing the interview because I just fucking didn't feel like it. And I was being a brat and I was being an asshole. And then another email comes sometime later about needing to kind of figure out, you know, when I was coming to the festival and talking about me coming in to do my step down number. Now, at this juncture, I believe this was June or July. I don't remember the dates. Like I said, I'm not going through looking for screenshots and fucking emails. This is laborious enough. But it was within a frame of time that Jasper and I had planned already to be gone, to be in Denmark. Because at that point, I just felt like I don't want to go because I feel like the only reason why I'm getting asked to go is because I was like, what is this about? Like, is this for the festival? Like, I don't want to be an afterthought. And let me go back. I want to preface this by saying that I met Pucks at the first Savannah Burlesque Festival. We roomed together. It was her, myself, and Stormy Chance. And we talked about With the Funk. I was always super supportive of Pucks doing this and of Pucks in general as a performer. Thought they were a powerhouse, was super excited to see them up on that stage, tearing it the fuck down, was super excited about them being brave enough, because Pucks and I have been in burlesque the same amount of time, to step out on faith and produce a festival. Like, I haven't even produced a show. Like, what an incredible thing to do. Like, because, no, I'm scared. So, I was always super supportive, but I felt like at that last Savannah Burlesque Festival, a dynamic between the two of us had changed. And I knew that Pucks was very close to Egypt at that time. And I also know how Egypt talked to me about other performers that had wronged her, that had been disloyal to her, that had stolen. It was always the same narrative. No real receipts, but the same narrative, right? And again, full disclosure, I fucking believed every single word until I didn't, because some shit started to really not fucking add up. So I felt as if there was a difference in the way that Puck saw me because of their proximity to Egypt. And like I said, you could cut the tension with a knife. I stayed in a completely different house. Like, by accommodation, I stayed with my friends from Nashville and NOLA. Like, I stayed as far away from all of that madness as I possibly could because I knew it was about to be some shit because of some conversations that had happened in the recent past that had gotten a little spicy, right? So I knew that I just wanted to stay over here, do what I needed to do at the festival, and take my ass home. But I could tell that there was a difference in the dynamic between the two of us. Now, I'm making assumptions. I may be making an ass out of myself with these assumptions, and that's okay because I'm willing to do that because an ass has been made out of me without me opening my mouth. So I'm okay making an ass out of myself. As long as it's me who's doing it, then that's fine. Just, I don't want anybody else doing it anymore. I'm tired of it. So if that is the case, I started thinking like, okay, is this because of something that someone else said? Is this really what this is? Now, I'll preface this also by saying that the performers that I was told these things about, I didn't have a previous relationship with. I didn't know them, right? So the people, the undesirables, right? The despicable me's over here were not people that I knew. But with Pucks, I felt like we were friends. So if we're friends and there's a problem, whether it was that or something else that happened, talk to me. Can I get the benefit of the doubt, please? Now, again, you can say I'm an asshole because maybe I should have fucking said something to Pucks about it sooner. But also, again, I was in my fifis because I felt like I was being fucking played. And that it was kind of like, oh, well, I guess you can come kind of thing. Or this whole idea of, oh, well, the festival's going to happen. Even though I knew that the festival was going to happen, whether COVID or not, there was plans for doing it digitally if it couldn't be done live. So this idea that the way that this email was written was like, oh, well, now we know it's going to happen so we can figure out how we're going to get you here. I never asked for anybody to like get me there, but it would have been nice to at least get a save the date back when everything was being planned and all of these announcements were being made. And I'm just sitting over here with my little crown in my burlesque room, like looking at it like, and super sad that I like felt like I couldn't be there. Now, fast forward. By the time I got this email with the invite to come, Jasper and I had already planned to be in Denmark. Jasper's mom is ill. Okay. She was diagnosed with cancer a while back. She's doing okay with it. The treatment's working well, but we have not seen his parents since the panini. And I love me some Jasper's parents. I love them both. They're incredible people. We were going to go. Things with work and shit and everything. And Delta is working us. So we decided not to go when we had initially decided to go. But when Pucks first reached out to me to finally like say, okay, well, let's get you here, I had not planned to be here. So, and I wrote an email back and I stated that I wasn't going to be here and also that I didn't feel comfortable coming because I felt away, and I didn't get into why I felt away because I didn't feel like spending the labor to like explain why I felt away. And I also just felt like what I had to say wasn't going to be received well and that it was going to cause a big ass blow up, and I did not want to have a fight, especially so close to the festival. I would rather have I wish you all well, because regardless of whatever the fuck happened with me, what the funk is essential. Okay? It is essential. It is necessary. It is beautiful. It is fantastic. outside of competing. It's one of the best experiences I've had as a burlesque performer. Being in that space with all of those POC people, all of those queer people, all of those like fucking unicorns is magical and should be commended and celebrated. Again, regardless of what happened with me. So I did not want to cause a fucking ruckus. But I also just wasn't in a place to completely disregard how I was feeling either. So again, around when this was happening was also around when I started talking about some shit was moving, shifting, and changing with me. And I was really dealing with how to deal with my fifis and respect my fifis, but also not be an asshole to everyone else. And it was hard for me to balance. And I probably didn't handle it in the bestest way the whole time. But I'm not gonna lie, I felt slighted. And I felt erased. And I felt like it was because of some shit that I didn't even do. And that I don't even have any control over. And sitting here over the weekend watching all of the fucking fabulous shit that was happening, it wasn't FOMO because I was really okay with my decision not to be there. I felt like I had missed out on my obligation to bear witness to the next person coming in. So I wish I had been there to squeeze Pinot and whatever. So it wasn't like so much FOMO because I'm okay with my decision. I made it. I'm a big girl. I'm going to stand up in my decision. And I still feel like it was the right decision for me to make. But I did feel a twinge of like, fuck. Like, I'm sad that I'm not there for this moment. And I feel like, in a sense, like I deserve to be there for that moment, right? But it had lost its luster for me, like months before, you know? So, yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. Like I said, I'm not digging back in nothing and looking for nothing, because if receipts were really important to you, then maybe like for folks that thought what they thought about me during this whole time, maybe you should have asked them for receipts like with that, because no. But I will say that we need to be kinder to each other. We need to be more transparent with one another. Please know that I'm holding myself accountable for this too. We need to get over our internalized shit. And we need to stop fucking with each other, because sometimes the call is coming from inside the house, and that needs to stop. And there's also a difference between you not liking a hoe because of whatever jealousy, envy, oh, I just don't like that bitch, whatever the fuck it is. There's a difference between that sometimes and actual harm. And sometimes I think we need to give each other the benefit of the doubt. Because I could say so much more, and it's not like I don't have receipts, but I'm not going to do that. Because at the end of the day, people are going to do what works best for them. People are going to be a part of things that serve them best. People are going to do whatever it is that makes them happy, and they should do that. I just personally don't want to hear any more bullshit about me centered around anything that happened when I was a part of House of Nile. That was over in 2019. I'm doing my own thing and have been doing my own thing fucking respectfully. I wish no one any ill will. Everybody is talented and beautiful and awesome and should be on all the stages. I don't want anything. I don't want anybody to lose out on any. I don't want anybody sticking up for me or nothing. Because like I said, I'm not innocent and I was fucking complicit. What I want is what I wanted from jump, is to be like left the fuck alone. Like, just leave me alone. Because I just want to quietly go about my life and loudly dance on stage half naked when I'm out there. But the rest of it, I don't really need. And, you know, I've been really intentional about surrounding myself with places and folks that I feel like understand me and get me, and I don't have to worry about these kinds of narratives. But I don't know. There was just something about those two things crashing together in my brain this weekend, and I was like, it just kind of all fell into place, and I was like, motherfucker, right? Like, I don't want to have my relationships that I've built with other people compromised because of some dumb shit that happened before. So yeah, I just hope that going forward, if you hear some dumb shit about me, that you give me the benefit of the doubt if you know me. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But I'm not a bad person. I can be trash, and I can also be a bratty little asshole sometimes. But can I tell you, I'm a fucking Leo. We act up at times. But I just felt like I needed to do that. And I've been wanting to do it for so long and have been afraid to do it. And I'm tired. Like, I am not a coward like most of the time. But with this, I've been a little punk ass, and I don't, again, it's because of my attachment to not ever wanting to have problems with other black femmes. I do not like fighting with other black femmes. It makes me itch because I just want all of us to win so fucking badly. But at the end of the day, like, I still have to honor my own truth, and I have to honor my own self. And if that gets me into a bunch of trouble and I have to deal with a whole bunch of shit after this, then I'll just deal with that. But it's better to deal with that than to deal with like the what ifs and maybe somebody did and like all this conjecture and bullshit and maybe kind of sort of, but I don't want to tell you exactly because I don't want to start no shit. Leave it. I said what I had to say about it. You don't need to tell me nothing I already know. I don't need to see no more screenshots. I'm good. I'm deading it now. And I feel free now. I don't need to discuss it no more. I have nothing else to say about it. So again, I wish everybody well, and I also wish that some folks would just let me be well and leave me alone. And again, I'm leaving some stuff out, but the folks that fucking know. You know what I'm talking about. So it's fine. I'm good. I spoke my piece. The comment section is silent. I don't even know who's watching this, if anyone's even watching this. I'm sure my phone will start ringing eventually. Anyway, I say all that to say it was time for me to free myself. And that's it. I love y'all. I'm going to continue to do what I do for the folks that like it. And I'm really just going to mind my business from here on out because I don't feel the need to participate in anything else now. So, yeah. Bye, y'all. I love you. And, yeah. Bye.